Starting with a tribute from Becky. She couldn't get up and read it herself. Growing up in the Philippines was such a great time of my life. We had such a fun time together as a family, and it is Clark Air Force Base where I have some of my fondest memories. Amanda and I shared a room for much of that time, and I can remember trying to make our room cool by plastering pictures of models all over the walls. Base housing can be really ugly. The base didn't have any shopping malls or stores or restaurants to hang out in, just the BX and a movie theater. So we spent most of our time doing other things. We used to climb a tree to the roof so we could sunbathe all day, listening to Madonna's True Blue album over and over again. We'd play kick the can or manhunt with the other siblings and friends in the neighborhood until we had to go home for dinner. We hung out with Chris Nefrada and had crushes on his gothic friends, beginning our love for Depeche Mode and The Cure. I even remember Amanda painting her nails black. We were such goofballs. But one of my funniest memories I have has to do with our huge 80s hair. We lived there in the late 80s, early 90s, and Amanda and I had big hair. Have to admit, though, mine was worse. I'm talking go through an entire can of Aquanet in a few days kind of hair. Anyway, background on the car situation. We had one car for the entire Lane family. It was dubbed the Lane Mobile, an old Ford station wagon with a beautiful metallic orange paint job, brakes you could hear literally from a mile away, and the icing on the cake, no AC. In case you're not familiar, the Philippines was hot. So hot and so humid, so not having AC in the car wasn't fun. I remember anytime we went anywhere, Amanda and I would often hop in the way back, or trunk basically, and lay down so that our beautiful teased manes of hair wouldn't go flat or get messed up because the windows were down. Sometimes we would actually shield our hair with our hands. We couldn't believe that the rest of the family couldn't just suffer for us and keep the windows up. I can still see us in that car being such dorks, just like it was yesterday. Of course, my memories of all of us in the Philippines are so wonderful, with all of my sisters and brothers, and I have so many great ones. Moving back to the States was hard, but eventually we ended up in Melbourne, another place loaded with tons of great memories. It became home, and that is where Amanda became friends with Heather and met the love of her life, Sean. I always remained friends with Amanda, and as far back as my memory goes, we always were friends. Sometimes we were best friends, sometimes just good friends, but always friends. Sure, we had fights like all sisters do, but we always made up and moved right along. Being out here in Harmony with her was so much fun too. So close to Disney, it seemed like she and Addie and my mom and dad and Jason and I were always going there. Sometimes every weekend. It was so nice living so close to her, as I have my entire life, that we could see each other every day. And after having a baby of my own, I realized even more the importance of my smarter older sister. All of them, for that matter. Lane loved Amanda. He would smile and laugh every time he saw her, except for when she'd take off her wig and put it on his head. He wasn't sure about that. I'm sad that he too will never really know how great she was. I will never be able to put down on one piece of paper all of the wonderful times I shared with Amanda. Just know that they were often, and they go way back in time, and I will dig deep to remember as many as I can to share with her little Addie. She was a blast to be around, and she had an energy that most people don't have. She was always the center of attention, whether she demanded it or not, a presence like no one else had. While she was always fun to be with, she was serious too, serious about her love for her family, her husband, and her daughter, serious about Disney, cruises, and friends, serious about her young life girls or youth group kids in church, and most importantly, serious about her love of God and her relationship she had with Him. I know that she has stood face to face with Him and seen His glory firsthand, and I know that she is healed now. I know that I will never get over the loss of my wonderful big sister Amanda, but I know that it will only be a short time until we meet again forever. You will never be forgotten, and we will never really move on. I know until the end I will have to catch my breath every time I think of you and realize you are no longer here. I love you, girl. Thanks for being such a goofball with me. Love you forever, Becky. And this is my tribute to Amanda. Although I often have trouble remembering every small detail of an event or page from our story, there is one time that Amanda and I shared that I can still, to this day, remember as if it happened just a moment ago. Amanda was 5 and I was 6. We were on a family trip to Disneyland in California. The adults stood around, talking, making plans, where to meet. We split up and went on our rides. Amanda and I were in the group with our grandma, our sisters Susan and Becky, and our brother Andrew. We loaded up on the sky buckets and made our way through the sky and over the park. In the flurry of unloading from the buckets, Amanda and I somehow got separated from the rest of our group. Here we were, holding hands, calling out for our grandma while the rest of the park went rushing by. I remember looking at Amanda sobbing and telling her that it would be okay. We would find them. All I knew was that the adults had said we would meet in Fantasyland. So I clutched Amanda's hand and we went up to a dozen different couples. "We're lost," I said. "Can you tell us how to get to Fantasyland?" Nothing, just empty stares or shaking heads. I used my best big sister voice to tell Amanda that we were fine. We would find everyone else, but inside my stomach was in knots. We eventually found our way to an information booth. I told the girl inside what had happened and she let us in. We sat on the floor and colored. Every time Amanda looked at me, I smiled and said that we were okay. After what seemed like an eternity had passed, we heard a voice. "Have you seen?" he said, and we looked up. "Daddy!" we yelled. "There you are," he said. On December 7th, 2006, my life changed forever. The words on the other line, "Amanda has breast cancer," pierced my heart. I couldn't catch my breath. I knew in that instant that my sister, the fighter, wouldn't win this battle. Everyone around me kept saying she was strong and she would beat this, but I knew she wouldn't. For the first time in our lives, I couldn't look at her and tell her that everything would be okay. I couldn't take this away from her, and I would have done anything to do just that. I got off the phone with my mom, and with my best big sister voice, I called Amanda. I felt like I was 6 again, and we were lost in this huge crowd of people. Just like that day so many years ago, I lied to Amanda as I told her that everything was going to be okay. And just like she did when she was 5, she believed me. And just like that day so many years ago, at the moment Amanda slipped from this world into the next, our Heavenly Father looked down at her and said, "There you are." My life was made more beautiful because of Amanda. She wasn't just my sister. She was my oldest and dearest friend.